Hi, you guys. All right. Hello, YouTube. We are getting ready to do our book club. I just turned on the button, so we're going to wait a few minutes for people to come in. But this is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. So I'm going to wait just a minute for people to join. But we are on chapter 19 tonight. Hi, Dee. I don't know how much I'll read tonight. I think just one chapter. Tonight we're traveling. We just left Louisiana and we just got to Florida tonight. So I want to take advantage of my motel room. Mickey Joe. Hi. Tony, New Leaf. Hi, you guys. Thanks for being so cool and coming over. I know we're kind of late tonight. We were live over on TikTok before this. Hi, FD. Hi, Valerie. Hi, Sharon. Hi, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, we're going to read this book. It's A Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm just going to wait a second for more people to join if they want. Hi, you guys. Hi, Marsha, Fran, FF, Tina. Now, just a reminder, you guys can always rewind and fast forward on the live stream. You can only fast forward up until, this point. But if you rewind, you can always, I think you can also speed up the playback speed too. So you can listen to me at like double speed and stuff. Hi, you guys. It's only 9 o'clock where you are. It's 11:17 my time. I think I'm on Central Standard Time. So I just got to Florida. So we left. I was going to camp out at Alabama, but the campground didn't work out. So I just kept driving to Florida and I got a room. And I have a campground already booked for tomorrow night. So I'm really excited to go to bed and get a shower and maybe go see the water tomorrow a little bit. Hello, Fanny. Hi, Arlita. Yeah, we're in Central Time. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Scorpio. Hi, Tony. Hi, everybody. Clover just got up. Clover was snoring pretty hard a minute ago. Clover was snoring pretty hard, so she's up, so I don't know what she's going to want from me. She's drinking all of her water. Hi, Carolina. Glad you made it safely. Yeah, we're in Florida now. I guess I'm going to go ahead and start reading. So, you guys, we're reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. Whoa, New Leaf with the $5 super chat. Let's go. Thank you for the super chat, New Leaf. Excited to be in Florida. Yeah. She's like, book? Nope. I know. In fact, I think she needs some more water. I might need to refill her water bowl. She's just sitting by it. I think she drank all the water. Hold on one second. Let me refill her water bowl. You know what that means? That means that she's going to have to go outside at some point. She's going to have to go outside at some point. She's like, book? Nope. We just took her out a little bit ago, so I think she's all right, but here in a second. Fanny with the $1.99 super chat. Thank you, Fanny. Thanks for that super sticker. Let's go. This is your first super on a live stream. That's your first time doing that? Thank you. Yeah, thanks, you guys. You don't got to do that. Thank you. That's so encouraging. All right, you guys, we're going to read this book. We are on chapter 19. This is page 167. And I'm just going to start out with one chapter. If I'm really into it, we could always do two, but I think we're just going to do the one. I don't remember what happened last time. So I know that the other fairy, I know that Lucien, I know that he gave her a knife. He gave her a hunting knife. He was quiet long enough. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like maybe she's smoothed things over with Lucien. That was your first super chat. New Leaf gifted a membership to Hope. Thank you, New Leaf. Thanks for gifting a membership over to Hope. Thank you so much. You want to be drunk and camping? A lot of people do that. I don't know. I'm Lori. Thank you, Lori. Yo, what's up? Carolina with the $4.99 super chat. Let's go. Thank you, guys. Thanks for the gifts. That's so nice of you. Clover, you want one of these? Hi, TWC. Hello, Sohail Ahmed. Where did the cop go? I don't know. I don't know what you guys are talking about. The trolls have entered the chat. That's good for our algorithm. That's good for our algorithm. Who do you got top 3? Oh, I don't know. We're excited this is back. Yes. Hi, Ghost Flowers. we're getting ready to read, but Clover's looking at me like she wants to go outside. I wonder if she can hold it for 30 minutes to an hour. What do you think? What do you think, Clover? I think she can hold it. I don't know. What do you think? She's looking at the bones. Clover, you want one of these? City Boy Dan, you haven't changed your name yet. Clover Walk is always welcome. I know. Well, she already kind of did her business a little bit. She's all right. She's right next to you guys with her little bone now. We'll see if she can kind of last, and then maybe we can take her for a walk after this. All right, so we are on chapter 19, page 167. And just so you guys know, Clover's here comfortable as can be. She's good. She just woke up from a nap. Clover just woke up from a nap. She says, thank you for the bone. Clover says, thank you for the bone. All right. So this is chapter 19, page 167. The next morning, my paint and supplies arrived from wherever Tamlin or the servants had dug them up. But before Tamlin let me see them, he brought me down hall after hall until we were in the wing of the house I'd never been to, even in my nocturnal exploring. I knew where we were without him having to say. The marble floors shone so brightly that they had to be freshly mopped, and that rose-scented breeze floated in through all the open windows. He'd done all of this for me, as if I would have cared about cobwebs or dust. That's so cool. So her paints came already. Wi-Fi and book clubs don't mix. Uh-oh. When he paused before a set of wooden doors, the slight smile he gave me was enough to make me blurt, why do anything of this kind? The small smile faltered. It's been a long time since there was anyone here who appreciated these things. I like seeing them used again, especially when there was such blood and death in every other part of his life. He opened the gallery doors and the breath was knocked from me. The pale wooden floors gleamed in the clean, bright light pouring in from the windows. The room was empty save for a few large chairs and benches for viewing the... I barely registered moving into the long gallery. One hand absent-mindedly wrapped around my throat as I looked up the paintings. So different. Did I not read this chapter already? I felt like... Didn't we read this? Am I rereading this? I feel like we read this. Am I just having deja vu? We have read this. I feel like my bookmark must have fallen out. How is that even possible though? Because my bookmark's a sticker. We read this. Yeah, thanks for that. Okay, that's weird. I must have stuck it wrong. That was so weird. All right, we're not on chapter 19. We're on chapter 20. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we left on a cliffhanger last time. Gotcha. Okay, so they were worried about that other fairy seeing her, and they said that it didn't. Okay, so now we're on chapter 20. Man, that's so wild. Okay. And that sounds about right, too, because I think we were on even numbers. Man, now I'm, like, wondering, did we read chapter 20? Nah, I don't think we read chapter 20. Okay. Okay, all right, sorry, I had a moment. Everybody fast forward this part. Okay. Chapter 20. We're on page 182. After a tense dinner during which Tamlin hardly spoke to Lucien or me, I lit all the candles in my room to chase away the shadows. I didn't go outside the following day, and when I sat down to paint, what emerged from my canvas was a tall, skeleton-thin gray creature with bat ears and giant membranous wings. Its snout was open in a roar, revealing row after row of fangs as it leaped into flight. As I painted it, I could have sworn that I smelled the breath of the reek of carrion, that the air beneath its wings whispered promises of death. I did read this. Hold on. Jeez, Louise. Wait. Nah, yeah, we already read this. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I didn't have my I can't believe I had my bookmark all the way back there though. That was weird. What the heck? Somebody like messed with me. That's so embarrassing. I bared my once the rites perform, we can have wait, no. We didn't read this, did we? They look like high fae, but there's something different about them. No, we didn't read this. Oh my gosh. You lose your spots too, don't be embarrassed. Well, it's been a couple days. Locked myself in my room without eating dinner. I feel like we didn't read this. But maybe the reason why those words sound familiar is because that's what happened in the previous chapter. All right. We're going to go back to chapter 20. Wow. Never moved from where you last read. Yeah, I never moved it, I guess. All right. So chapter 20, page 182. We're going to try this. Hopefully this is right. Chapter 20. That sounds more right. Okay. After a tense dinner during which Tamlin... Okay. I didn't go outside. The finished product was chilling enough. The day... Okay, we're going to go on to the last paragraph. The day of fire night, Kalan Mai, Tamlin had called it, dawned, and I didn't see Tamlin or Lucien all day. As the afternoon shifted into dusk, I found myself again at the main crossroads of the house. None of the bird-faced servants were to be found. The kitchen was empty of staff and the food they'd been prepping for 2 days. The sound of drums issued. You missed last time, so you don't know? I feel like I read this, but heck if I know. The drum beats came from far away, beyond the garden, past the game park, into the forest that lay beyond. They were deep, probing, a single beat echoed by 2 responding calls, summoning. Yeah, I feel like I read this. I stood by the doors to the garden, staring out over the property as the sky became awash in hues of orange and red. In the distance, upon the sloping hills that led into the woods, a few fires flickered, plumes of dark smoke marring the ruby sky. The unlit bonfires I'd spotted 2 days ago. Not invited, I reminded myself. Not invited to whatever party all the kitchen fairies tittering and laughing among one another. I just looked up. We are on chapter 20. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, so we're on page 183 and towards the middle. The drums turned faster, louder. Though I'd grown accustomed to the smell of magic, my nose pricked with the rising tang of metal, stronger than I'd sensed it. I took a step forward, then halted on the threshold. I should go back in. Behind me, the setting sun stained the black and white tiles of the hall floor, a shimmering shade of tangerine, and my long shadow seemed to pulse to the beats of the drums. Even the garden, usually buzzing with the orchestra of its denizens, had quieted to hear the drums. There was a string tied to my gut that pulled me towards those hills, commanding me to go, to hear the fairy drums. I might have done that had Tamlin not appeared from down the hall. He was shirtless, with only the baldric across his muscled chest. The pommel of his sword glinted golden in the dying sunlight, and the feathered top of arrows were stained red as they poked above his broad shoulder. I stared at him, and he watched me back, the warrior incarnate. "Where are you going?" I managed to get out. "It's Kalan Mai," he said flatly. "I have to go." He jerked his chin to the fires and drums. "To do what?" I asked, glancing at the bow in his hand. My heart echoed the drums outside, building into a wilder beat. His green eyes were shadowed beneath the gilded mask. "As a high lord, I have to partake in the great rite." "Those muscles, Carolina." I have seen what the Native Americans call a thunderbird in real life. Nice. Okay. Go to your chamber, he snarled, and glanced towards the fires. Lock your doors, set up a snare, whatever you do. Why, I demanded. We're on page 184. Why, I demanded. The Ator's voice snaked through my memory. Tamlin had said something about a very fairy ritual. What the hell was it? From the weapons, it had to be brutal and violent, especially if Tamlin's beast form wasn't weapon enough. You like green eyes, Carolyn? Just do it. His canines began to lengthen. My heart leaped into a gallop. Don't come out until morning. Stronger, faster the drums beat, and the muscles in Tamlin's neck quivered, as if standing still were somehow painful to him. Are you going to battle? I whispered as he let out a breathy laugh. He lifted a hand as if to touch my arm, but he lowered it before his fingers could graze the fabric of my tunic. Stay in your chamber, Feyre. Please. Before I could ask him to reconsider bringing me along, he took off running. The muscles in his back shifted as he leaped down the short flight of stairs and bounded into the garden, as spry and swift as a stag. Within seconds, he was gone. You love green eyes. Loving the channel and subscribe. Thanks, Elijah. I did as he commanded, though I soon realized that I'd locked myself in my room without having eaten dinner. And with the incessant drumming and dozens of bonfires that popped up along the far hills, I couldn't stop pacing up and down my room, gazing out towards the fires burning in the distance. Stay in your chamber, he had said. But a wild, wicked voice weaving in between the drums whispered otherwise. Go, the voice said, tugging at me. Go see. Beth, Miss Sweet Potato with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Beth. Thanks for the super sticker. You can't vibe with this book? Well, Pete, that's okay. It's probably just not meant for you. Maybe you can join for the next book. Beth, thank you for the $5. All right, we're on page 185. We are about halfway through the book. By 10 o'clock, I could no longer stand it. I followed the drums. The stables were empty, but Tamlin had taught me how to ride bareback these past few weeks, and my white mare was soon trotting along. I didn't need to guide her. She, too, followed the lure of the drums and ascended the first of the foothills. Smoke and magic hung thick in the air. Concealed in my hooded cloak, I gaped as I approached the first giant bonfire atop the hill. There were hundreds of high fae milling about, but I couldn't discern any of their features beyond the various masks they wore. Where had they come from? Where did they live? If they belonged to the spring court but did not dwell in the manor. When I tried to focus on a specific feature of their faces, it became a blur of color. They were more solid when I viewed them from the side of my vision, but if I turned to face them, I was met with shadows and swirling colors. It was magic, some kind of glamour they put on me, meant to prevent my viewing them properly. Just as my family had been glamored. I would have been furious, would have gone back to the manor had the drums not echoed through my bones and that wild voice not beckoned to me. It's hard to follow in this format. I know. You know, Elijah, yeah, we all got the books. Just want to know if toes are shown before I donate. We're just reading a book, you guys. Hey, thank you to the trolls for trolling me tonight, too. You guys make it funny and interesting. Hi, Miss Prima. You entered the library late. Toes, as far as I know. No toes yet. It was darker than the night sky and silent. Okay. I don't know where I'm at. What's going on? It was magic, glamour, Becca, me. Okay, we're on page 185. I think we're in the last paragraph. Though a cluster of drummers played on one side of the fire, the fairies flocked to the trenches between the two nearby hills. I left my horse tied to a solitary sycamore crowning a knoll and followed them, savoring the pulsing beat of the drums as it resonated through the earth and into the soles of my feet. Ah, there is feet. There is toes. She could feel it down into her toes, Elijah. No one looked twice in her direction. I almost slid down the steep bank as I entered the hollow. At one end, a cave mouth opened into a soft hillside. Its exterior had been abandoned with flowers and branches and leaves, and I could make out the other beginnings of a pellet covered floor just past the cave mouth. We're on page 186. What lay inside was hidden from view as the chamber veered away from the entrance, but firelight danced upon the walls. Whatever was occurring inside the cave, or whatever was about to happen, was the focus of the shadowy fairies as they lined either side of a long path leading to it. The path wended between the trenches among the hills, and the high face swayed in place, moving to the rhythm of the drumming, whose beats sounded in my stomach. Toes. I watched them sway, then shifted on my feet. I'd been banned from this. I scanned the firelit area, trying to peer through the veil of night and smoke. I found nothing of interest, and none of the masked fairies paid me any heed. They remained along the path, more and more of them coming each minute. Something was definitely going to happen, whatever this great rite was. I made my way back up the hillside and stood along the edge of the bonfire near the trees, watching the fairies. I was about to work up the courage to ask a lesser fairy who passed by, a bird masked servant like Alice, what sort of ritual was going to happen when someone grasped my arm and whirled me around. I blinked at the three strangers, dumbfounded as I beheld their sharp featured faces. Free of masks, they looked like high fae, but there was something slightly different about them, something taller and leaner than Tamlin or Lucien, something crueler in their pitch black, depthless eyes. Fairies. I just want to make you smile. Oh, thanks, Elijah. The two fairies. I tried yanking my arm back. Wait, what happened? Sorry. We're still at the bottom of 186. The one grasping my arm smiled down at me, revealing slightly pointed teeth. Human woman, he murmured, running an eye over me. We've not seen one of you for a while. I yanked my arm back, but he held my elbow firm. What do you want? I demanded, keeping my voice steady and cold. The two fairies who flanked him smiled at me, and one grabbed my other arm just as I went for my knife. Just some fire night fun, one of them said, reaching out a pale, too long hand to brush back a lock of my hair. I twisted my head away and tried to step out of his touch, but he held firm. None of the fairies near the bonfire reacted. No one bothered to look. If I cried for help, would someone answer? Would Tamlin answer? I couldn't be that lucky again. I probably used up all of my allotted portion of luck with the Naga. I yanked my arms in earnest. Their grip tightened until it hurt, and they kept my hands well away from my knives. The three of them stepped closer, sealing me off from the others. I glanced around, looking for any ally. They were more non-masked fairies here now. The three fairies chuckled, a low hissing noise that ran along my body. I hadn't realized how far I stood from everyone else, how close I'd come to the forest's edge. Leave me alone, I said, louder and angrier than I expected, given the shaking that was starting in my knees. Bold statement from a human on Colin Mai, said the one holding my left arm. The fires didn't reflect in his eyes. It was as if they gobbled up the night. I thought of the Naga whose horrible exteriors matched their rotten hearts. Somehow these beautiful, ethereal fairies were far worse. Once the rite is performed, we will have some fun, won't we? A treat, such a treat to find a human woman here. I bared my teeth at him. Get your hands off of me, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. One of them ran a hand down my side, its bony fingers digging into my ribs, my hips. I jerked back only to slam into the third one, who wove his long fingers through my hair and pressed close. No one looked, no one noticed. Stop it, I said, but the words came out a strangled gasp as they began herding me toward the lines of trees, towards the darkness. I pushed and thrashed against them. They only hissed. One of them shoved me, and I staggered, falling out of his grasp. The ground welled up beneath me, and I reached for my knives, but sturdy hands grabbed me under the shoulders before I could draw them or hit the grass. Have a good night, Elijah. They were strong hands, warm and broad, not at all like the prodding, bony fingers of the three fairies, who went utterly still as whoever caught me gently set me upright. There you are. I've been looking for you, said a deep, sensual male voice I'd never heard. I kept my eyes on the three fairies, bracing myself for flight as the male behind me stepped on my side and slipped a casual arm around my shoulders. The three lesser fairies paled, their dark eyes wide. Thank you for finding her for me, my savior said to them, smooth and polished. Enjoy the rite. There was enough of a bite beneath his last words that the fairies stiffened. Without further comment, they scuttled back to the bonfires. I stepped out of the shelter of my savior's arm and turned to thank him. Standing before me was the most beautiful man I had ever seen. Uh-oh. Now we've got a love triangle for sure. We're on page 189. Chapter 21. I will read the next chapter. This is probably the last chapter, though, because I'm going to go to bed. Chapter 21, page 189. Everything about the stranger radiated sensual grace and ease. High fae, no doubt. His short black hair gleamed like a raven's feathers, offsetting his pale skin and blue eyes so deep they were violet, even in the firelight. They twinkled with amusement as he beheld me. For a moment, we said nothing. Thank you didn't seem to cover what he did for me, but something about the way he stood with absolute stillness, the night seeming to press in closer around him, made me hesitate to speak, made me want to run in the other direction. Who's she gonna go for? This guy. This guy for sure. He wasn't wearing a mask from another court then. A half smile played on his lips. What's a mortal woman doing here on fire night? His voice was love's purr. His voice... Okay, this is the hard part to read. His voice was a lover's purr that sent shivers through me, caressing every muscle and bone and nerve. Come on. Do you guys like it written like that? That sounds so silly. I'm going to read that again. His voice was a lover's purr that sent shivers through me, caressing every muscle and bone and nerve. It's fluffy frou-frou. We love it though, huh? I took a step back. My friends brought me. You like it, Fluffy. Ghost Flowers likes it. I think I used to too when I was younger. I used to like reading romance novels when I was younger. We love it how embarrassed it makes you. The drumming was increasing in tempo, building to a climax I did not understand. That's so funny. It had been so long since I'd seen a bare face that looked even vaguely human. His clothes were all black and finely made. They were cut close enough to his body that I could see how magnificent he was, as if he'd been molded from the night itself. Go Fluffy. He gives her funny fanny flutters. Fanny flutters are hilarious. I'm sorry. And where are your friends? He was still smiling at me, a predator sizing up prey. 2 ladies, I lied again. Their names? He prowled closer, slipping his hands into his pockets. I retreated a little more and kept my mouth shut. Had I just traded 3 monsters for something worse? When it became apparent I wouldn't answer, he chuckled. You're welcome, he said, for saving you. I bristled at his arrogance, but retreated another step. I was close enough to the bonfire, to that little hollow where the fairies were all gathered, that I could make it if I sprinted. Maybe someone would take pity on me. Maybe Lucien or Alice were there. Strange for a mortal to be friends with 2 fairies, he mused and began circling me. I could have sworn tendrils of star-kissed night trailed in his wake. Aren't humans usually terrified of us? And aren't you, for that matter, supposed to keep your side of the wall? I was terrified of him, but I wasn't about to let him know that. I've known them my whole life. I've never had anything to fear from them. He paused his circling. He now stood between me and the bonfire and my escape route. And yet they brought you to the great rite and abandoned you. They went to get refreshments, I said, and his smile grew. Whatever I'd said just given me away. I spotted the servants hauling off the food, but maybe it wasn't there. Maybe it wasn't here. He smiled for a heartbeat longer. I had never seen anyone so handsome and never had so many warning bells pealed in my head because of it. Hi, cows. Had to tell about this creature. They are still around. Be aware. Ah, Junior. I'm afraid the refreshments are a long way off, he said, coming closer now. It might be a while before they return. May I escort you somewhere in the meantime? He removed a hand from his pocket to offer his arm. He'd been able to scare off those fairies without lifting a finger. No, I said, my tongue thick and heavy. He waved his hand toward the hollow, towards the drums. Enjoy the rite then, he said. Try to stay out of trouble. His eyes gleamed in the way that suggested staying out of trouble meant staying far, far away from him. Though it might have been the biggest risk I'd ever taken, I blurted out. So you're not part of the spring court? He returned to me, every movement exquisite and laced with lethal power. But I held my ground as he gave me a lazy smile. Do I look like I'm part of the spring court? The words were tinged with an arrogance that only a mortal could achieve. He laughed under his breath. No, I'm not part of the noble spring court, and I'm glad of it. He gestured to his face where the mask would go. I should have walked away. I should have shut my mouth. Why are you here then? The man's remarkable eyes seemed to glow with enough of a deadly edge that I backed up a step. Because all of the monsters have been let out of their cages tonight, no matter what court they belong to. So I may roam wherever I wish until the dawn. More riddles and questions to be answered, but I'd had enough, especially as his smile turned cold and cruel. Enjoy the rite, I repeated as blandly as I could. I hurried back to the hollow, too aware of the fact that I was putting my back to him. I was grateful to lose myself in the crowd milling along the path to the cave, still waiting for some moment to occur. When I stopped shaking, I looked around at the gathered fairies. Most of them still wore their masks, but there were some, like the lethal stranger and those horrible three fairies, who wore no masks at all, either fairies with no allegiance or members of other courts. I couldn't tell them apart. As I scanned the crowd, my eyes were met with those of masked fairies across the path. We're on page 192. One was russet and shone as brightly as his hair. The other was metal. I blinked at the same moment he did, and then his eyes went wide. He vanished into nothing, and a second later, someone grabbed my elbow and yanked me out of the crowd. Have you lost your senses? Lucien shouted above the drums. His face was ghostly pale. What are you doing here? None of the fairies noticed us. They were all staring intensely down the path, away from the cave. I wanted to, I started, but Lucien cursed violently. Idiot, he yelled at me, then glanced behind him toward where the other fairies started. Unless human fool. Wait, what? Oh, useless human fool. Without further word, he slung me over his shoulder as if I were a sack of potatoes. Oh. Despite my wriggling and shouts of protest, despite my demands, he got my horse. He held firm. Wait. I can't read this. Despite my wriggling and shouts of protest, despite my demands that he get my horse, he held firm. And when I looked up, I found that he was running faster. Arlita with the $2 super chat. Let's go. Thank you, Arlita. Thank you for the super chat. I found that he was running fast, faster than anything should be able to move. It made me so nauseated that I shut my eyes. He didn't stop until the air was cooler and calmer and the drums was in the distance. Lucien dropped me on the floor of the manor hallway, and when I steadied myself, I found his face just as pale as before. With the super chat, thank you, Arlita. You stupid mortal, he snapped. Didn't he tell you to stay in your room? Lucien looked over his shoulder towards the hills where the drumming became so loud and fast that it was like a rainstorm. That was hardly anything. That wasn't even the ceremony. It was only then that I saw the sweat on his face and the panicked gleam in his eyes. By the cauldron, if Tam found you there. So what, I said, shouting as well. I hated feeling like a disobedient child. It's the great rite. Didn't anyone tell you what it is? My silence was answer enough. I could almost see the drum beats pulsing against his skin, beckoning him to rejoin the crowd. Fire night signals the official start of spring, in Prythian as well as the mortal world, Lucien said. Fanny with the $1.99 super chat. Thank you, Fanny. Thanks for the super chat. Lucien said. His words were calm. They trembled slightly. I leaned against the wall of the hallway, forcing myself into a casualness I didn't feel. Here our crops depend on the magic we regenerate on Kalanmai tonight. I stuffed my hands into my pockets of my pants. Tamlin had said something similar 2 days ago. Lucien shuddered as if shaking off an invisible touch. We do this by conducting the great rite. Each of the 7 high lords of Prythian performs this every year, since their magic comes from the earth and returns to it in the end. It's give and take. But what is it? I asked, and he clicked his tongue. Tonight, Tam will allow great and terrible magic to enter his body. The magic will seize control of his mind, his body, his soul, and turn him into the hunter. It will fill him with his sole purpose to find the maiden. From their coupling, magic will be released and spread to the earth, where it will regenerate life for the year to come. Whoa. My face became hot, and I found the urge to fidget. Tonight, Tam won't be the fairy you know, Lucien said. He won't even know his name. The magic will consume everything in him but that one basic command and need. Oh my goodness. Who's the maiden? I asked. Lucien snorted. No one knows until it's time. After Tam hunts down the white stag and kills it for a sacrificial offering, he'll make his way to that sacred cave where he'll find the path lined with fairy females waiting to be chosen for his mate tonight. Well, Lucien laughed. Yes, all those female fairies around you were females for Tamlin to pick. It's an honor to be chosen, but it's his instincts that select her. But you were there and other male fairies. My face burned so hot that I began sweating. We're on page 194. We've all had nights like that. Holy moly. That was why the 3 horrible fairies had been there. They thought that just by my presence, I was happy to comply with their plans. Lucien chuckled. Well, Tam's not the only one who gets to perform the rite tonight. Once he makes his choice, we're free to mingle. Though it's not the great rite, our own dalliances tonight will help the land too. He shrugged off the invisible hand a second time, and his eyes fell upon the hills. You're lucky I found you when I did, he said, because he would have smelled you and claimed you, but it wouldn't have been Tamlin who brought you into that cave. His eyes met mine, and a chill went over me, and I don't think you would have liked it. Tonight is not for lovemaking. I swallowed my nausea. I should go, Lucien said, gazing at the hills. He wants to do it. I gotta get out of here, he says. I need to return before he arrives at the cave, at least to try to control him when he smells you and can't find you in the crowd. It made me sick. The thought of Tamlin forcing me, the magic could strip away any sense of self or right or wrong. But hearing that some feral part of him wanted me, my breath was painful. Stay in your room tonight, Feyre, Lucien said, walking to the garden doors. No matter who comes knocking, keep the door locked. Don't come out until morning. Oh my goodness. Disappointed she is. She's like, I wish I was over at the cave right about now. Except what if he didn't pick her and then those other guys, you know. At some point I dozed off while sitting in my vanity. Of course he would pick her, right? We already know what's going to happen. They're going to end up together. She's not going to end up with Lucien. She's going to end up with Tamlin. I woke the moment the drum stopped. A shuddering silence went through the house, and the hair on my arms arose as magic swept over me, rippling outward. You know she ain't gonna listen. I love your hair. Thanks, Lynn. Though I tried not to, I thought about the probable source and blushed, even as my chest tightened. I glanced at the clock. It was past 2 in the morning. Well, he'd certainly taken his time with the ritual, which meant that the girl was probably beautiful and charming and appealed to his instincts. I wondered whether she was glad to be chosen. Probably. She'd come to the hill of her own free will, and after all, Tamlin was a high lord, and it was a great honor. And I suppose Tamlin was handsome, terribly handsome, even though I couldn't see the upper part of his face. His eyes were fine, and his mouth beautifully curved and full. And then there was his body, which was... I hissed and stood. I stared at my door, at the snare I'd rigged. How utterly absurd, as if bits of rope and wood could protect me from the demons in this land. Needing to do something with my hands, I carefully disassembled the snare. Then I unlocked the door and strode into the hallway. What a ridiculous holiday. Absurd. It was good that humans had cast them aside. This is your first book club. Hi, Lily. What are you doing? I am reading this book. This is our book club. We're on page 195 of this book. I think this is our 10th book club live stream. I just read this book. So the reason I read the book is because I haven't read a book in like over a year. So this is just me reading the book, and I decided to read it out loud live. I know it's kind of silly, but that's what I'm doing. So I just, every once in a while, you know, I try to do it most nights, but so I think this is my 10th time. We're on page 195. I was about to turn down the hallway when a tall male figure appeared before me. Do you think it's Tamlin? The moonlight from the open window turned his mask silver, and his golden hair, unbound and crowned with laurel leaves, gleamed. Going somewhere? Tamlin asked. Oh, man. He didn't choose a mate, did he? I bet you he didn't choose anybody. It's not him. They're going to have magic time now. Oh, my gosh. Okay. Going somewhere. I suppressed a shudder. Midnight snack, I said, and I was keenly aware of every movement, every breath I took as I neared him. His bare chest was painted with whorls of dark blue woad, and from the smudges in the paint, I knew exactly where he'd been touched. I tried not to notice as they descended past his muscled midriff. I was about to pass him when he grabbed me, so fast I didn't see anything until he pinned me against the wall. The cookie dropped from my hand as he grasped my wrists. I smelled you, he breathed. Oh, man. He smelled her. His painted chest rising and falling so close to mine. I searched for you and you weren't there. He reeked of magic. When I looked into his eyes, remnants of power flickered there. No kindness, none of the wry humor and gentle reprimands. The Tamlin I knew was gone. Let go, I said as evenly as I could, but his claws punched out, embedding in the wood above my hands. Still writing the magic, he was half wild. Her cookie's gone on the floor. Now she's like, man, I gotta go back to the kitchen. You drove me mad, he growled, and the sound trembled down my neck, along my breasts until they ached. I searched for you, and you weren't there. When I didn't find you, he said, bringing his face closer to mine until we shared breath, it made me pick another. I couldn't escape. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. She asked me not to be gentle with her either, he snarled, his teeth bright in the moonlight. He brought his lips to my ear. I would have been gentle with you, though. I shuddered as I closed my eyes. Every inch of my body went taut as his words echoed through me. I would have... I don't want to say these words. I would have taken a very, very long time, Feyre. My back arched slightly. He ripped his claws free from the wall. And my knees buckled as he let go. I gasped the wall to keep from sinking to the floor, to keep from grabbing him, to strike or caress. I didn't know. I opened my eyes. He still smiled like an animal. Why should I want someone's leftovers, I said, making to push him away. He grabbed my hands again and bit my neck. I cried out as his teeth clamped onto the tender spot where my neck met my shoulder. See, it's Interview with a Vampire, I tell you. He's Brad Pitt with green eyes. I couldn't move. I couldn't think, and my world narrowed as the feeling of his lips and teeth were against my skin. He didn't pierce my flesh, but rather bit to keep me pinned. The push of his body against mine, the hard and the soft, made me see red, see lightnings, made me grind my hips. We're on page 197. I should hate him for his stupid ritual, for the female he'd been with tonight. His bite lightened and his tongue... He didn't move. He just remained in that spot. Intentionally, territorially, lazily, he pounded. He jerked away. Don't ever disobey me again, he says. I have to skip some of it. I'm sorry. I just don't want to read some of this. Don't ever disobey me again, he said, his voice deep. Sorry, this is wild. Then I reconsidered his words and straightened. He grinned at me in that wild way, and his hand connected with my face. Or wait, my hand connected with his face. I was like, wait, what? I read that backwards. My hand connected with his face. Don't tell me what to do, I breathed, my palms stinging, and don't bite me like some enraged beast. He chuckled bitterly. The moonlight turned his eyes to the color of leaves and shadow. More, I wanted the hardness of his body crushing. Okay. His nostrils flared as he scented me. Scented. Okay. He growled once, low and frustrated and vicious before prowling away. That's all she had to say. This author, all she had to say was he growled and ran away. That's all we got. Page 198. We're going to leave it here, chapter 22. I got it bookmarked in the right spot this time. So we're officially, because I think it's 44 chapters, so we're officially halfway through now. I skipped words. Yes. No, can't read those. I don't know the terms of service on YouTube for reading those. We gotta know. I know. Well, he ran away, so I think that's it. They're probably going to have a couple of awkward weeks after this. Like they did that other time when they went swimming together or whatever, then they just a couple weeks flashed by. It's probably going to be, my guess is we're going to go back into this next chapter and it's going to be like, so a month goes by. That was fun though. I'm glad that there's some movement because it was kind of slow for a while, right? There were quite a few chapters where I felt like it was getting slow. So things are steaming up a little bit at least. We got some kind of weird ritual out of it. I'm going to go to bed though, you guys. Thanks for hanging out and thanks for helping me read the book. Kind of weird. I don't know what the plan is for the book club over the next couple days. So we are traveling through Florida now. So we left Louisiana. We're in Florida. Tomorrow I'm going to go to our camp spot. I'm assuming that for the next week we will keep reading the book each night. The campgrounds are kind of like by each other, so I don't think that we're going to have any trouble getting to the new camp spots and hanging out and doing some sightseeing and reading the book. We will stand by the door watching her paint. She will sense him, see his eyes devour her. Jackie knows. Good night, you guys. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to be live on TikTok. I don't know about YouTube. For sightseeing, we'll do YouTube. But I don't know. I'll definitely be live in the morning for TikTok, though, for coffee. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know what time. Probably like around 9 Central or so. I'll probably be live. See you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys. All right. See you later.